Language is really an inherent part of who we are as humans, of what we do. And the Language Science Center helps us as researchers explain to others why we find language so fascinating and why they should be fascinated by it too.
I think there are very few places in the world where you can bring such a diverse community of people together and they'll agree to find a common ground about whatever domain. And that's, I think, what makes us special.
The University of Maryland is unique in how it fosters and supports interdisciplinary research.
Linguistics at Maryland is a very diverse place. I study structure and meaning in human language and how it arises in children and is used by people. What's cool is that even though we do so many different things, everybody feels like they're asking the same basic question, which is, how is language represented in the mind? And because we're all on that kind of same general wavelength, there's a lot of interaction between the faculty and a lot of insights that we can draw on from our colleagues. And so it's really a blast.
What I really like about my department is that everyone is super open to discussing new ideas. And I like, for example, the fact that I can just walk into my department kitchen and then strike up a conversation with whoever's there about some idea that I just had.
The Department of Hearing and Speech Science studies everything from how airwaves get translated into sound inside the ear, to how listeners interpret stories and everything in between. So most of my research is about how individuals understand language when it's difficult, when it's hard. Being able to look at different populations who've had different types of experiences helps us to identify what really might be causing the differences between different groups' successes or failures at listening in these kinds of environments. And being able to compare humans and dogs tells us something about what aspects are really about being a social creature versus a linguistic creature. Babies, dogs, overloads of cuteness, how could that not be fun?
Computer science is about teaching techniques for processing information and understanding the theoretical foundations of that. For instance, in my own work, we apply computer science techniques to language, and we need to collaborate with linguists to understand the properties of language so that we're not starting from scratch. So you might think that computers are really good at answering questions. IBM Watson beat Ken Jennings. Our system has beat the best quiz bowlers in the world and also Ken Jennings. And one of the things that we've uncovered is that humans are much better at synthesizing information and making leaps and drawing connections between information, while computers are really good at memorizing.
The center brings together people, faculty from the 3 departments in the College of Education who are interested in and do research in language and literacy. Well, the idea is to focus on problems, concrete problems and challenges that schools have, and tackle them with evidence-based practices. I would like us to build our impact at the local level. That's growing, and it's important, to the national level, and affect policy on language and literacy.
My research is about how children learn language and how they use that language to support literacy in a very diverse group of children. We know that when children from underserved communities enter school, frequently their home variety of English differs from classroom English. And that makes it more difficult to learn to read. So the Togotalk curriculum is designed to give teachers a systematic way to support their students as they learn to shift between their home variety of English and classroom English. And it does that in a way that isn't saying home language is wrong, but it's respecting and validating children's home language as they learn to shift back and forth. The UMD Togotalk project is designed to test the efficacy of the Togotalk curriculum. I'd say the most surprising, gratifying part of the project has really been working with the schools. By the end of the year, we really knew the principals, the teachers, the staff, the students really well, and we are continuing those relationships.
MSICE, or the Maryland Cochlear Implant Center of Excellence, was designed to integrate the educational strengths and research strengths down here at College Park with the surgical experience and genetics expertise at the University of Maryland, Baltimore, and the University of Maryland Medical Center.
I was involved with the MSICE Summer Intensive Program, where we had children come in who were either had cochlear implants or were preparing to have a cochlear implant, and they were within a classroom setting. And our AUD and our speech pathology students worked with them in this intensive program.
We established the Linguistic Research Field Station in the highlands of Guatemala. The field station has made it possible for researchers from places like Hungary or Germany or the Netherlands to arrive in Guatemala and get interesting work done. And we've done work on very diverse range of topics. And none of that would have been possible without the infrastructure support and the enthusiasm of the field station.
Graduate training is, again, it's the heart of what we do. It's the heart of where I was coming from. It's what I knew best. It's a great way to form a grassroots community. Graduate students are flexible. They can learn new things better than us old guys. The institutional organization we have right now is really more something that was built on top of that grassroots effort.
The Language Science Fellows Program is an opportunity for students in a variety of different departments who have interdisciplinary research interests and really ambitious goals to get experiences around campus, not just in their home department. Right now there are 23 students participating in the Language Science Fellows Program. About half of those are from linguistics and the other half from a bunch of different departments: hearing and speech sciences, neuroscience and cognitive science, second language acquisition, computer science, human development, really representing the full range of disciplines involved in language science. I've come to believe that the most important thing is just helping students figure out what it is that they actually want to do and what they're actually interested in and actually good at. And once we figure that out, we can help them get the skills that they need to do whatever that is.
So there are two primary reasons I would say that prompted me to join the Language Science Fellows Program. Something I was really impressed with when I arrived at the University of Maryland is this collaborative nature that's fostered and cultivated by the Language Science Center. The second reason is from a professional development standpoint. So there are a lot of opportunities that are created by the Language Science Center in terms of refining your communication skills, refining your research skills, honing in on statistical analysis and methodological approaches that can be really useful for addressing different research questions.
The Language Science Fellows Program, while it is some kind of a structured academic training program, brings together a lot of students from different backgrounds, and I think I really treasure the kind of friendship that I've actually built in the course of these couple of years.
Pulsar is our interdisciplinary undergraduate program in language science, and it's open to students in any major. And the goal is to give students opportunities to broaden their understanding of language science beyond what they could find within a single major or even a double major, to give them experience in research and outreach. I think that one of the big values of Pulsar for students is it puts them in a situation where they're always learning from each other, and they're part of a community of students who are interested in getting a broader perspective.
I think the role of partnerships is crucial in a whole variety of ways. It provides educational opportunities that we wouldn't otherwise have. It provides research opportunities that we wouldn't otherwise have. It helps us to see research problems that we didn't know existed.
Landscape is a public online language mapping and language information project. Right now we're working with Translators Without Borders, which is an NGO that provides language services to humanitarian organizations. We're working on a pilot project to try and develop accurate language mapping for several countries where there's a high humanitarian need. Humanitarian organizations need to know what languages they will be able to communicate with people in so that they can provide services. The Language Science Center and CASTLE and the Center for Geospatial Information Sciences are currently collaborating to develop new ways of visualizing and new ways of collecting geolinguistic data that will expand the possibilities for language mapping.
CASTLE is a research center at the University of Maryland, which was established in the aftermath of 9/11 to serve the language readiness needs of the government. All of our research has the potential to be collaborative, and we hope to have even more collaboration with the University of Maryland campus, and there are always increasing opportunities for that.
The Dialect Diversity Project is actually a branch extending from the Language Science Policy Committee, and what we do is we focus on giving visibility to students who speak different varieties of English on campus. So lots of instructors aren't actually aware that there are a diverse group of speakers who don't just speak other languages but also speak other dialects. And so what we do is we provide them with information about what is a dialect? How does this manifest in the spoken language of students? How does it manifest in the written language for like assignments that they turn in? What to expect? How do you support them in terms of their growth academically and socially?
This past summer, I was with the DC Language Immersion Program. This is a non-profit advocacy group that tries to promote and support dual language immersion programs in Washington, DC public schools. DC Immersion, I helped them with trying to build an economic case for promoting dual language programs in these elementary schools.
Oftentimes the university has a presence where we're not engaged with the community. What we did is we offered a one time a week in the morning reading stimulation, reading program. It's like a pop-up library, so to speak. What's really important is it's not one person's project, but that it is a community effort.
For me, telling people that I'm a linguist doesn't really convey the information that I want to convey. You know, it elicits responses like, oh, you must speak a lot of languages, or are you really good at translating things? And so when I say I'm a language scientist, that gets the two most important things in there right away. I study language from a scientific perspective. The other advantage is that most people don't know what language science is, so instead of making assumptions about what it is, they just ask, and so that's always the start of a really good conversation.